Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again. It's 6 o'clock in the morning and we have a busy day ahead of us. After I finish my coffee, we will bring Miss Avery to the dog park, and when we return home, we need to harvest a great big bunch of basil from the garden. Then we need to preserve that basil, and afterwards, well, we will see what the day brings us. Let me finish my coffee, and then we can head to the dog park. Avery insists on visiting the dog park every day. In fact, if I don't bring her, she will hound me until I do. At the dog park this morning, she is having a great time with her friend Leonard. Leonard is a Bernese mountain dog. This is the basil that you and I grew from seed last spring, and it has grown remarkably well. It's been a very good summer for basil. There is enough basil here to last me an entire year, and even beyond. We will process and freeze the leaves in 3 different ways today. Look at all of this basil we harvested. Now, I'm not going to wash the leaves because I want them to be dry when I process them, but I will go over every leaf. Yeah, I'm the only one who has touched these plants, and the plants were grown organically, so I'm not worried. I'm putting the leaves in this giant bowl, and I'm putting the stems in this bowl for compost. Quick update, I've been at this job for about 45 minutes. I am examining each leaf as I pluck, and I'm trying to think happy thoughts as I go about this job. I've already filled one of these huge bowls with leaves onto a second bowl. So we have 2 huge bowls of basil leaves to work with. I won't pretend it was an easy job plucking the leaves from all of these stems, but it was a worthwhile job, okay? Now, I have some beautiful stems and a lot of leaves that didn't look great, but these will be wonderful for my compost. I'm going to bring these outside to the compost, and then we can get started processing the basil. I'm going to turn some of these beautiful basil leaves into a basil nut spread, which can be frozen. And for that spread, I need either pine nuts or almonds, which I don't have in the house. So I need to run to Tierra Farm to buy the nuts. Take a drive with me if you like. Tierra Farm is my favorite source for organic, fair trade nuts, dried fruit, coffee, and tea. Although the farm is only 4 minutes from my house, you can shop here too. Tierra Farm ships nationally within the United States. I can put a free shipping code for Tierra Farm in the description below if you are interested. Today, I am buying pine nuts, almonds, and Nicaraguan coffee. We are home again, and we are going to start our basil preservation project. And the first preservation method is really simple. I'm just taking whole dry leaves, putting them in a large bowl, and then I'm going to drizzle them with just enough olive oil to coat the leaves. And then you fluff the leaves to coat them. When you freeze this in a Ziploc bag, apparently the olive oil stops the leaves from oxidizing and turning black. You just want to make sure that you fluff the leaves enough that they are truly coated with the olive oil. I have already labeled my Ziploc bags. So now we can pack the leaves in. This is a quart-size bag. Then seal the bag, leaving about a ½ inch unsealed. Then gently press down on the bag to expel any excess air. And finally, seal that little area that we left open. And there we have it. I keep a towel handy so I can dry my hands of the olive oil before handling the Ziploc bag. And there, I have 4 quarts of basil leaves that can go into the freezer. Once these are frozen, I can simply open the bag and break off however many leaves I need for a recipe. Now, another basil preservation method that I've seen lots of YouTubers using is to mix chopped basil with salt. Now, you and I made basil salt about a month ago by layering whole basil leaves with kosher salt. It smells terrific. But I think I might like this other version better, simply because the salt turns a beautiful shade of basil green. And the ratio we need here is 4 parts of chopped basil leaves to 1 part of kosher salt, or coarse salt, or really any salt. I'm going to chop the leaves in my food processor. We can pulse just to break up the leaves. Now we have to see how many leaves we have here. We have 2 cups of leaves here, which means I will need a ½ cup of salt. I'm going to use plain old Morton salt here. Salt. Scrape down the bowl. Done. We can store this in a little ½ pint jar. Lid. Now, if I am making spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce or some soup or stew that requires basil, I will simply substitute the basil salt for any salt in the recipe. This needs to be stored in the refrigerator, where it should last for anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Finally, we are going to make a basil and nut spread that freezes perfectly well. So I have my jars here. These are clean. Now, this is not really pesto because there's no lemon juice or garlic or cheese in the mix. It's just basil leaves, and nuts. I'm going to make some of the spreads with the pine nuts that you and I just purchased at Tierra Farm. And I'm also going to make some with the sliced almonds that we bought at Tierra Farm. So I need my basil leaves, and we can really pack them in here. And pine nuts. You could toast these nuts first. I'm feeling lazy today, so I'm going to use them just as they are. And there are no exact proportions to these ingredients. Use as much or as little as you like. First, we pulse everything together. Now we can add enough olive oil to achieve a fairly smooth puree. Scrape down the bowl. Now you could easily turn this into proper pesto just by thawing the basil and nut spread and then pureeing it with lemon juice and garlic and Parmesan cheese. I'm going to transfer this to jars. You want to be sure to leave about a ½ inch of headroom in each jar to allow for expansion during freezing. That looks good. This is delicious, just with the pine nuts and the basil and the olive oil. I'm going to continue making this nut spread, although this next batch will be made with almonds instead of pine nuts. I really don't think we have to pulse everything first. We can just run the machine and add olive oil. Easy. Might have too much in this jar. Indeed, I do. And I'm out of my screw top lids. I need to order more of those, so I'm going to use just the regular lids and bands. Although the YouTubers I have watched did not add any salt to this mixture, I think I'm going to add salt for my next go-round. Conversely, you could use salted nuts. We've actually finished off the first big bowl of basil leaves. And I'm running out of jars. Well, this is turning into quite the basil preservation project. I've spent the whole afternoon on this. So I've already made the 4 bags of basil leaves with extra virgin olive oil. These will be frozen. We have made the basil salt, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 half pints of the basil nut spread. And of course, all of these things will go into the freezer, except the salt will go into the refrigerator. Now, I want to make just some regular, absolutely delicious basil pesto, also known simply as pesto. I need my leaves, almonds, lemon juice, and I may need more lemon juice, Parmesan cheese, pulse, and then olive oil. I forgot to add garlic. Fortunately, I have garlic paste right here. Yet another spoon. Perfect. Just want it a little smoother. And then we can jar this up. And I found more lids, more of the screw-on lids. I can link these in the description below if you are interested. Well, my food processor is certainly tired, and so am I. I'm going to label these jars, clean up my workstation, and then we can think about dinner. All right, all of the basil we preserved has been put in the freezer, except for the basil salt, which I put in the refrigerator. Now we need to scare up something for dinner. I think we should make a tomato pie. And of course, we need the main ingredient, so let's head up to the garden. If you have never made this tomato pie, you will be shocked to discover how easily it comes together. And the first thing we need to do is preheat the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. Now the first thing we need is the crust. And for this, I'm going to use canned biscuits. Now, American canned biscuits are nothing at all like traditional Southern biscuits or scones. They are unique in every way, and they are uniquely suited for the crust on a tomato pie. And if you can't find these in England, I think the next closest thing would be crescent roll dough, which I think comes in a can in the UK. And then we press these biscuits. This is from a 7.5 ounce tube, and we simply press these biscuits into the pan to make a crust. I was using a deep dish pie plate, and I forgot I want a standard shallow pie plate. I always think I don't have enough biscuits to cover the sides and the bottom of the pie plate, but then as I work with the dough and stretch it and press it, it does end up covering the sides and the bottom. Then we need the star of the show. Now, if you want a juicy pie, you can use a standard size or an heirloom tomato. In fact, you can use several tomatoes and just slice them thickly. Today, I'm going to use these San Marzanos because they have a lot less water. They're very meaty, and we will see how that works out. And just throw these slices on top of the biscuit dough. Then top the fruit with salt and pepper. Today I'm going to use some of the basil salt that you and I made together this afternoon. Mayonnaise, about 1 cup. Shredded cheddar cheese, again, about 1 cup. And stir. I think I want to add some more fruit to this pie. So I think this is an early girl variety. Just cut out the core. Then I'm going to seed and juice this fruit. You don't have to seed and juice, but I don't want a lot of liquid in my pie. And I will put the recipe for this pie in the description below. Now I put the basil salt on, but I neglected to add the pepper. And those are the only seasonings we need. Cheese and mayo topping on. Spread it out. It's all right if some of the tomatoes peek through. And then we top the top with a chiffonade of basil. Just stack the leaves. Roll them into a tight cigar. And cut crosswise. And here's our chiffonade. Onto the pie. Looks pretty already. Into the oven until the biscuits puff and the cheese melts. That will take from 30 to 35 minutes. And here is our beautiful tomato pie. We need to let this cool for about 30 minutes so that the juices can recede. Meantime, I want to bring out all of the basil that we preserved today. Well, we certainly accomplished a lot today. We made 7 jars of regular basil pesto. We made 8 jars of basil nut spread. We made 4 quarts of whole basil leaves with extra virgin olive oil. And we made basil salt. And we made this gorgeous tomato pie. When I want to make pasta with basil sauce, I will use this basil nut spread because it doesn't have cheese in it. If you use regular basil pesto that has cheese in it, the cheese will gum up when you add it to hot pasta. To use the basil pesto as a dipping sauce, I will simply thaw the contents of the basil pesto jar and then transfer it to an attractive serving bowl. Everything is frozen. I want to keep it that way, so back to the freezer they go. I forgot to tell you that I came up with the recipe for this pie back in 2011. I have been making the pie at least one time every summer since then. This pie knocks it out of the park every time. It's sumptuous and savory, just incredibly delicious. I hope you will give it a try someday. We do a lot of cooking, gardening, food preservation, and home beautification projects on this channel. So if you have not yet subscribed, I hope you will do so. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate your company. I can put a couple of my other videos at the end of this one that you can enjoy between now and my next upload. Until then, please treat yourself well. Please try this tomato pie. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye, friends. Awesome.